I've read in your LinkedIn that even before getting a driving license, at the age of 16, you got your pilot license.
Correct.
So, how does that happen? Okay, who's Leo?
So I come from a family where we have two people who served in the Indian Air Force. So one of them was a flying pilot. So it's my uncle, and I grew up seeing his uniform have these wings, and so that was there. That inspiration part was there. It was cool.
My thing is like from a person who was having a gaming controller and playing aircraft and finally going and touching the original aircraft, like how does it actually feel at that point of time?
The second thing I felt was, this is pretty cool.
Nice.
Right? This is an aeroplane and it feels pretty cool.
What exact moment of time you realized that you are the pilot of your life?
When I had money. It's called fuck you money. So that was the first time I realized that life is the cockpit and I am the pilot. As a pilot, you literally see the passengers that you are responsible for. You are the pilot in command. We say PIC, pilot in command, and we say SOB, souls on board. The pilot in command is accepting the responsibility of 150 souls in the airplane.
You guys started as a 3 kids from high school in 2016. So what is the spark and story behind it?
There was an internal conflict and somebody had to leave the company. They went and made a post on Facebook. And I was 16, 17 years old at that time. And Facebook, he posted in front of everybody. And he called me out telling that Leonard is not a developer. He's not a developer. He's some random kid who knows how to fix spelling mistakes. So this company is doomed. Leave this company. He posted on a community.
So what are the type of systems that an entrepreneur should actually set in place to run a proper company?
You as an entrepreneur, you as a CEO, your job is to go and explore and build the business big. So once you identified where you can make money, what is the repeatable processes, repeatable stuff, your job is to teach that to another person. Hire another person, teach it to them and say, boss, every day you have to do this. Since I studied about leadership, there are 12 types of leadership. The leadership style that I follow personally is servant leadership style, right? And that is one of the most successful leadership styles as well. Like, Ratan Tata has exhibited certain types of servant leadership.
What do you think Modi is?
I think
for a startup, what is like an exact cockpit kind of a checklist?
great. That's what I was gonna say. So there are two items.
Welcome to Sculptors Podcast. Today we have our guest, pilot, sailor, and a serial entrepreneur, Leonard Selvaraj.
Correct.
Okay, Leonard Selvaraj. Great having you, brother. Hi.
Thank you. Hi. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, bro. So I've read in your LinkedIn that even before getting a driving license, at the age of 16, you got your pilot license.
Correct.
So how does that happen?
There is a governing body called DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation. So they have rules. Just like how for the road we have RTO, for flying we have the DGCA, and the DGCA rule says all you need is 16 years of age to get a license called as a student's pilot license.
Okay.
And there's another license called as the private pilot license. For this, the age requirement is very clear. Anybody can Google this or can chat GPT it right now. And so that was the age requirement. I always thought it will be at least minimum 18.
Okay.
ஏன்னா காரே வந்து 18ல தான் தராங்க, ஏரோப்ளேன் 18ல தானே தருவாங்க. That was my assumption, initial assumption. But I went and I asked the flight school and they said, you only need to be 16 years of age. And I said, sign me up. So that's how it happened.
Okay, who is Leo?
How do I answer this? So there are multiple...
there are multiple asks that you switch to. Correct. Or of course you're a polymath. I just want to understand from your point of view that who are you? How do you convey to the world that
right. So now this is an answer that depends on who's asking me.
Okay.
Right. So to you, I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay.
To another pilot, maybe I'm another pilot. To a pilot, I'm an award-winning pilot.
Okay.
To a sailor, I am a sailor. To a student, I am a student. To somebody who can cook, I also am a cook. So all of these things based on what the other person can relate to.
Okay.
Right? I can talk about multiple things. I do multiple things. I enjoy doing multiple things. Okay. So based on who's asking, I would say. But I also have another version of myself where in the bedroom when I switch off all the lights, when I put my blanket, when I'm going to bed. So that time all these avatars, they don't come with me. So that time I am a humble 26-year-old who is curious about many things.
Philosophical side of answer.
Yep.
Okay. But what I exactly want for my audience, like who is Leonard?
So who is your audience? Like, are there
Okay,
people
so-
who are into branding, marketing?
Someone who want to become an entrepreneur, also people who are already entrepreneur, who is successful, who just want insights out of your conversation.
All right. Okay. So for entrepreneurs, so we are in one common group, right? So my nickname over there is the process doctor, is because I am keen about a lot of processes and systems and SOPs. So to an entrepreneur, this is something that I would identify myself as. I'm a process doctor. I also am, I could say, an award-winning entrepreneur. But again, I have to start apologizing in advance, because this might sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet multiple times. But it's just, what to say, this is something that I tell and announce myself in a way where people can relate to, okay, this guy is saying something, because I don't really carry that around with me. Right. So the pilot and the sailor thing, they come around. Because when I wear a suit, I have lapel pins, I have my like, what to say, there are different attributes that announce that I am a pilot and a sailor. But this entrepreneur aspect of it, I usually tell it to people, especially if they are asking for help, or if I think they are somebody whom I could help, right? So I announce these things to them. But again, this is a question that I struggle to answer. I figured out it is better not to answer that question, because the answer to this keeps changing with the time.
Understood.
As of today, it is these things that I mentioned. I don't know what it will be tomorrow.
Okay. What is the first curious point or a moment that inspired you to become a pilot? Because that's where you started, and you went on to become someone who was award winning in that space, right?
Yeah.
So how does the journey happen? What was your childhood like? So which eventually would have triggered you to grow in a ways certain to become a pilot, right? So can you explain me that area?
Yeah. So again, it's not really black and white like that, because multiple things happened. So I come from a family where we have two people who served in the Indian Air Force, and so one of them was a flying pilot. So it's my uncle, and I grew up seeing him. I grew up seeing the uniform. I grew up seeing his uniform have these wings, and so that was there. That inspiration part was there. It was cool. It was, pretty interesting to see, because their office clothes are different, and my uncle's office clothes are different. So that part was there.
Okay.
And but again, that didn't really contribute until one day he invited us to the Air Force station to see him fly. So he was going back to whichever base he came from, and he invited us to see, and he took us to the cockpit. We saw the crew. We saw what is there in the cockpit, how they prepare, what all they do, and all these things. They actually inspired something. So that day I came back home. I fired up GTA San Andreas, and that was the best tool I had at the time. And I put up I went to the airport over there in that game, and I tried to taxi. So I learned that moving the aircraft very slowly on the ground was called taxi.
That's what.
I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting. So let me try taxiing. So that was a proper time in GTA San Andreas. I went around like that, and I tried to simulate whatever I saw. Whatever I saw my uncle doing, I tried to do the same thing on the computer.
Understood.
This is a Canon event, and then the last and final Canon event was in school. Another teacher asked us, "What do you want to become? What would you like to do?" And my original answer to that was something else. But the guy next to me, he stole my answer.
Okay.
So I had to tell something else at the time. And my teacher was very curious about the answer that I told. So initially, I had astronaut in mind. I wanted to become an astronaut at that point. But the guy next to me, he told, and I had to come up with immediately come up with an alternative, because this guy asked me. I said, I'm going to say astronaut. Probably he had some cricketer or something. And so what to say? I remember he said he was going to become a cricketer, and then he tweaked his answer, and then I couldn't say the same thing.
Okay.
I said I want to become a pilot.
Okay.
And then my teacher asked why, and I gave the same answer. My uncles are there in the Air Force, and I want to join the Air Force. And then it became part of my identity. Okay,
Nice.
This kid, he wants to join the Air Force. So then multiple things happened. I started playing more aeroplane games, and then a lot of other Canon events happened. I met some pilots. And then I had an interesting conversation with them, and they guided me, go to this flight school. It is right here. It is walkable distance. Go there and have a conversation. So I went to a flight school. So that, I think, is the last and final Canon event.
Okay.
And from there, it officially happened. So small things, things were happening.
So eventually the dots got connected.
Exactly. That's my Instagram bio, by the way. Eventually all the dots connect.
Okay.
Right?
So my thing is, like, from a person who's having a gaming controller and playing aircraft and finally going and touching the original aircraft, like how does it actually feel at that point of time?
Two things. I felt two things. Because in the flight sim, everything feels very big, right? And when you actually go to a cockpit, it's very small. It's a very tight and congested space. Now I can't fit in the first cockpit that I learned how to fly. I find it a little troubling to fit in that cockpit. So first thing was things are a little smaller, and you appreciate the difference. Oh, okay, like in the computer game, it looks a little different. Oh yeah, the color scheme is a little different, but things feel a little different. So that was the first thing I felt. The second thing I felt was, damn, this is pretty cool.
Nice.
Right? This is an aeroplane, and it feels pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
If life is a cockpit, at what exact moment of time you realize that you are the pilot of your life?
When I had money.
So when you had money, you realize this.
So when I had money, it became very apparent. Because without money, you don't really realize what options you have. I'll back that up with an example. Okay. So today I wanted to come here. All right. And I needed my clothes and I needed a driver to drive me. Right. And so before not 5 years, maybe 2-3 years back, I would have had to iron my own clothes. I would have had to pick this up, iron it by myself, and then take the car and drive it by myself and things like that. Today I have an SOP. Today I have a structure and a process of how things should happen. And today, based on the event, I decided I have an interface. I decided what I wanted to wear, and my shirt was ironed for me.
Okay.
And I just had to mention on my calendar, I have to reach this place at this time. 6 o'clock I have to be here, so 5:45 I need to reach here. And I reached 5. There was a 5-minute delay, so I reached on time, right?
Understood.
So I have a structure and a process. This is heavily inspired from the aviation part, because in a cockpit, you don't do things without without knowing what you're doing. Okay. So let's say you're flying an aeroplane, you're doing an exercise called as a circuit pattern, right? So not only you who's sitting in the cockpit, even the air traffic controller who's sitting in the tower and who's monitoring, giving you clearance, he also knows what you're going to do at different points of time. He knows when you're going to start climbing. He knows when you're going to stop climbing. He knows when you're going to start descending. He knows when you're going to call the ATC. We call it a beam, the runway numbers.
Okay.
Call the ATC, right? So everybody knows, even the person who's standing on the ground, like an observer, an aviation observer, he also knows what that aeroplane is doing, right? And this is because of process.
Understood.
And that was pretty amusing to me.
So,
like, I'll ask another example.
Okay.
We are going in a car. Can we predict what the other guy is going to do in the front car back?
We can't.
We can, if he puts an indicator,
Yes,
we have an idea.
If there's a signal, maybe then we can understand.
There are some drivers who put left indicator and then turn right also.
Understood.
Right. So in aviation, that is not there. So I like this part of aviation. And when I had money, I realized that I can actually put systems and processes and do the same thing in my life. I can make my life very predictable. Right. So that was the first time I realized that, life is a cockpit and I am the pilot.
Nice.
They say like time flies and you are the pilot.
That's good. Good point of view to that question. And one more. Another question that I want you to ask is like in aviations, mistakes are like it should be like fatal. Like
it is fatal.
Very error.
I've had near miss. I've had near calls.
And then when it comes to startup, it can be optional. Right? So you have transitioned. Even though you are doing something as a pilot or sailor, you are also transitioned to a serial entrepreneur who also somehow works with startups, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel this transition for a person who was mostly process oriented, who was also called a process doctor as well? How do you think these kind of SOPs that you have done in aviations has really impacted your vision towards building a startup as well?
Very, very deep, very interesting question. Let me take a minute. How being a pilot has helped me run a company?
Yeah, run a company or a startup, also to control a startup as a process doctor. Process
doctor is really an internal nickname.
Okay. But it sounds cool, but also it solves a problem, right?
Yeah. So that's much more easier to answer. It's because people set processes.
Okay.
But in a set process, somebody has to follow.
Yeah.
Like you are also
if people are the problem, then process won't work.
Exactly. So that is one version of it. There are some times where the process in itself is wrong. Today I had a very interesting call in the morning. And I had a call with the CEO, and he said he's going to implement a certain process. And I had to show him like what will happen if you implement it. And then the light bulb came on for him, and he said, "Oh yeah, this is also an angle." And so in aviation, it gave me a framework. It told me what to do. There are a lot of mnemonics, a lot of memorization items, because when you're flying an airplane, you can't really take a checklist. And there are checklists, there are manuals, there's something called as a POH, Pilot's Operating Handbook. There are different things that are there available in the cockpit, but when you're at a critical stage of flight, you can't keep pulling out that manual and reading it, right? So we have certain items called as sorry, you were asking.
So sorry to interrupt. I just want to ask this question. Like, for a startup, what is like an exact cockpit kind of a checklist? Like, what's the startup checklist? Like?
So great. That's what I was gonna say. So there are two items. One is called a memory items, which every pilot should know by heart, and the other one is reference items. You can refer a checklist and read it out, right? So you have two pilots flying. One is a pilot flying, one is a pilot monitoring. So the pilot flying will focus on flying the aeroplane, and the pilot monitoring will read the checklist. He will say, okay, landing lights on, flaps down, so all these things. So he will call it out, and then the pilot flying will actually verify. He'll say landing lights, he'll turn on the switch and say landing lights on. He'll say flaps, he'll say okay, flaps 15. So he will call out and he will do. So there are two things, memory items and checklist items, right? Or reference items. So for a startup CEO, you should have your memory items, which are your doctrines and philosophies. You should have a moral compass, right? For example, some employee commits some mistake. How do you judge? Like, there are people who could argue that they are being treated differently. Indifference is happening, right? So to judge those mistakes, because as a CEO, you are the judge, jury, and executioner at a certain scale of your company, right? So how do you judge? So you need your memory items. You need your philosophies. What is the philosophy in which this company operates? Social sculpt, like what are the things that it believes in? Right? So in Iikru, we have certain things which we believe in, and beyond that, if it contradicts, if the mistake contradicts that, then the person has to go out. So far in the past 5-6 years, like earlier, it's been 10 years, the past 5-6 years, it has not happened because we understood that almost every problem in a company is a hiring problem.
Understood.
Right? So we hire very specific type of people, and these problems don't repeat themselves. But yeah, for a startup CEO to consider themselves as a pilot and a company as a cockpit, you need to have your memory items, which is your philosophy and doctrines, and then you need to have your reference items, which are your SOPs. So your SOPs should reflect what is there on the process. The SOPs should reflect what is there on the philosophy. So your SOP shouldn't say something that is contradicting. For example, one of our philosophies is that life extends beyond the laptop, right? So that as a SOP, we call it 8-8-8. 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play, 8 hours of sleep, right? So 8 hours of life and 8 hours of sleep. So in the 8 hours that we have for work, they can work anytime that they want except the meeting times, right? So as long as they're working for 8 hours, we don't really care about what time they clocked in, what time they're clocking out. We don't really care about that stuff, right? So this is an example of how your process can be made based on what you believe as a company, right? So if I say that if my philosophy is life extends beyond the laptop, that is my philosophy. And then if my SOP says if there is a task, you have to wait till the end of the night, even if it is 12 in the night, you have to sit down and finish it. Then my process and my thing are not matching.
Understood.
Right? My process and my philosophy are not matching. So you should have a philosophy first, and that philosophy should guide your process. That is what should happen. So did I answer your question?
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Can founders really learn discipline from pilots?
Discipline, founders, discipline people have been trying to teach since. Who taught you discipline?
So, see, discipline.
Which pilot taught you discipline?
No, I'm just asking can.
Yeah, they can obviously. But I'm just curious, like, where did you learn your discipline?
It's all deeply rooted. Our father, mother teach us few things.
Correct.
Our school teaches few things, our college teaches few things. Of course, an office, beyond a point of time, they teach a little bit.
So for founders, also, like the pilot equation is you can look up to pilots. But discipline is a personal choice.
Yeah, discipline is a personal choice. But what I feel is like, to be a pilot, there are certain measures and discipline you need to have, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
So to a founder, building a startup and taking it above the sky and without even crashing it within 5 years, that's also is kind of a pilot job, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just want to have a metaphor to it.
I'll give an example. So pilots, right? So let's say tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock departure. You're getting you're rostered for a flight tomorrow morning you're flying from Chennai to Delhi. Okay, 6 o'clock you're departing. 2.5 hours later you're landing in Delhi. So for that 6 o'clock flight, the pilot has to be in the airport. 6 o'clock departure. 6 o'clock the aircraft has to leave the runway. That means the aircraft has to be pushed back from the terminal 30 minutes prior, at least 20 to 30 minutes prior, depending on the size of the airport. Chennai, 10 minutes taxi time. So depending on the size of the airport, the aircraft has to push back at least by 5:45 from the terminal. So that means all the passengers in the aircraft should be loaded by 5:30 at least, which means they should start boarding at 5 o'clock at least.
Correct.
Which means the pilot has to show up at the briefing, because pilot also has to do a few things. They have to do dispatch briefing, they have to do their medical test, they have to do a breathalyzer test, and then they have to brief the crew. So all these things they have to do. So they also have to reach a certain time prior. So if it is a 6 o'clock departure, the pilot has to be in the airport by 4:35.
Understood.
Right? So for that, depending upon where the pilot lives, there's a company car that will come. And that company car will pick the pilot up, and let's assume a 30-minute commute. So that means at 4 o'clock, the company car is going to come and pick up, if my math is not wrong. 4 o'clock, the company car will come to pick you up. So the pilot has to wake up at 3:30, iron his uniform, get ready, and be prepared for the cab to come. 6 o'clock departure, 3 o'clock, the pilot should be ready.
Okay.
Now, the government mandates that you need to have 8 hours of sleep compulsory before a flight. All right. There are some taboo around it. There is some airlines that don't really allow it.
Yeah.
Some airlines, they allow it, but they keep it neck to neck. Meaning you can't, like from the time you come home, the next 8 hours, your cab will come to pick you up. So there are some airlines like that. I mean, what is it? Depending upon how senior the pilot is, how, how much experience they have and different things like that. But again, the concept I'm trying to tell you is to get that 8 hours of sleep, you need to make a sacrifice the previous night. So, and the previous night is when your friend will call you and tell you, tonight we are going out for a movie. Tonight, like the other day, Deepak called us. I was planning to do something else. He called. We are planning to go to a movie, right? So at that time, if I was a pilot and I had a flight to operate, I would have had to say no.
Yeah, definitely.
The discipline to say no, I have something else.
Okay.
Something much more bigger. I have to take the responsibility.
Actually, it's more important to a founder as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can draw a lot of parallels to it.
Absolutely. Because in aviation, you are literally responsible for lives. The stripes that we wear, it means that it means something. The stripes are there in the shoulder because they say that metaphor, right? The shoulders are heavy, right? You carry the weight, right? So that is what those stripes mean.
Okay.
And as a pilot, you literally see the passengers that you are responsible for. You are the pilot in command. We say PIC, pilot in command, and we say SOB, souls on board. So we say, depending on the aircraft, 150 souls on board. The pilot in command is accepting the responsibility of 150 souls in the aeroplane. Right now in this room, there are 3-4 people. Imagine 150 people, and you are sitting in one small room, and what you do from your hand,
Will impact the others.
Yeah. Like, some crashes also happened in the last year. So for a founder, if the founder realizes what is happening, so let's say a founder has 10 people in his company, a very small company, this founder is responsible for 10 families.
Agreed.
And if this founder, nowadays what I'm observing is, people are taking interns left, right and center without giving a care about what that intern is trying to accomplish or where they are headed in their life. Right? This is something that actually saddens me because I also used to do the same thing some time back. I will have a task. I will not have a budget to do that task. And what I will do is I'll think, let me hire an intern. Because that's the other day I met an investor and he also told the same thing. Hire an intern and ask him to do here. But now that intern is also a living, breathing human being.
Correct.
He also has dreams and aspirations. He also has a career goal.
Okay.
And because of what the college is pressurizing, the poor guy, he'll also come and do an internship.
Correct.
He needs an internship certificate to get his degree. As fulfillment of his degree, he needs an internship certificate. So now he's doing an internship. Is it adding value to his career or not? The founders are not really taking responsibility of that. So this is one thing where founders can learn from pilots, where you are responsible for a career of somebody. Somebody's entire, right now you and I, we have the luxury of sitting down over here. We have, by God's grace, touch wood, by God's grace, good careers we have, There are some people who don't have all these options because somebody else played a game in their life. It's a very controversial topic. But Yeah, so this is something that they can learn, the weight of responsibility.
Regarding building Iikru systems, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Iikru
It's correct.
system, okay.
Iikru system,
So
yeah.
you guys started as a 3 kids from high school in 2016. So what is the spark and story behind?
No, we're still kids only. Glory to us, we're still kids only.
How does that idea turn into a company?
So what happened was, I was part of a aviation gaming community. Okay, and I was a grammar Nazi. So that aviation community's website had so many spelling mistakes.
Okay.
And the guy who made it was actually German.
Okay.
So we had paid some money to a German guy. He came, he developed a website for us. He delivered it to us. And there were so many spelling mistakes. And this is like 10 years back. No ChatGPT, no Grammarly also. Right. So I could read it and there's so many grammar errors, so many spelling mistakes. And I went and talked to the CEO of that company. I said, just give me access. It is HTML only, right? HTML I study in school. I'll just correct all these spelling mistakes. That is what I told him. And he also gave me access and I fixed all the typos. And then WhatsApp had launched this feature called you can add a group invite link.
Correct.
Earlier, you can only add a contact. You had to save a contact and add them. Now you can invite with group links. So this was a URL. So I thought, okay, why not add a URL over here? So this is what I thought.
Okay.
And that was the first thing that I made. I still vividly remember. I put a green button. I said join WhatsApp group and I attached this link. And, when people click that link, they read a list of rules for the WhatsApp group. They click that link, it'll open in a new tab and they will join on WhatsApp. This is the first thing that I made.
Okay.
And 10 years later, we have a award-winning company by space. We're doing multiple things from agriculture to aerospace. So that is how it started.
Okay. How it evolved as a company? Like what was the breakthrough point that you had?
So when we started, so I told you about the button, right? So from button to aerospace, I straightly went. A lot of other things happened in between. A lot of painful things happened in between. So one of the first things that happened was there was an internal conflict and somebody had to leave the company. That time it was not a company. That was time it was not Iikru Systems.
Okay.
It was Indigo Virtual.
Okay.
And somebody had to leave. And when they left, they went and made a post on Facebook. And they spoke a lot of things.
Okay.
And I was also 16 years old.
Okay.
And I was 16, 17 years old at that time. And Facebook, he posted in front of everybody. And he called me out telling that Leonard is not a developer. He's not a developer. He's some random kid who knows how to fix spelling mistakes. So this company is doomed. Leave this company. He posted on a community.
Okay.
And that did something in me.
Okay.
I had to go and prove him wrong. So it took me 8 months to actually build a product. So I built a product. It's called Iikru V4. Okay. It's still online. You can still Google it and check it out. And I built the product not with the aspiration of making it into a product, but purely because I wanted to prove somebody wrong. And that's how it started. And after 8 months, I was in 12th standard at the time. Yeah, I was in 12th standard at the time. I finished 12th standard, took 2-3 more months, polished it, and I launched it. And it was actually welcomed really, really well. There was some...
Where did you launch it? Like, how much is it?
Online only.
Okay.
I changed the folder and I said, boss, website is launched now, go check it out. That's all. No, that's what I was not an entrepreneur, right? Like, I was just a kid.
Okay.
It was a website. I changed the folder name from old to new. That's it.
Okay.
So that's how I launched. That was my first launch. And that's what happened. People went and they checked it out and they loved it. They liked what they saw and a lot of international audience also saw it.
Nice.
And one of my friends right now is in Qatar. And that friend, he recommended me to make a post on a forum. Okay. He said, Leo, you have to go and post about this on a forum. Because this is like some really great work. So I asked him, is it the Facebook one? And because I wanted to go and tell the world that I have proved this guy wrong. Right? I blocked that guy. We lost communication. I mean, but now he's a good friend. Now we are in touch. At that point of time, somebody else posted it on Facebook and I had regained the aura.
Super.
And on this forum, this is a business forum, and I went and posted, and I posted it just to showcase what I have done. After that, I remember after my 18th birthday, I had a requirement for money.
Okay.
My dad had, I had gone to my dad for some, I was a kid, 18 years old. I went and asked for pocket money for my 18th birthday celebrations. My dad gave me pocket money. He gave me, like usually what he used to give me in school, he gave it to me. And I said, boss, I'm in college now. I've upgraded. Give me more money. And my dad asked me how much money you need. And for some reason, I didn't like that question. Very logical question.
Okay.
Like, okay, you're asking for money.
So how much you want?
I didn't know. I wanted enough money to take all my friends,
Okay.
to have a nice party in the canteen. And that canteen was expensive, dude. With 100 rupees only, you can't buy anything. You want 2 chicken noodles, you can't buy. Right? So I had a real requirement for money at the time. And this was a product. And somebody had inquired, how much is it? I just gave one random price. And they said, yeah, okay, done.
How much do you quote?
I quoted $90 plus, 90 pounds plus 30 pounds. So 120 pounds was my, 110 pounds, I think. 110 pounds was my first ever money I made. I didn't have a way to receive it. So I had to receive it on somebody else's PayPal and then get that money transferred. So that was the first money I made online. And it was addicting. Like, oh damn, I can do something on the computer and I can get money. Because as I was a college kid, I just needed pocket money.
Exactly.
And at that point of time, it was a lot of money. Right? So I had a lot of money when I was a college kid to spend. And yeah, so that's how it started. After college, it was COVID. And it was much easier to just continue this rather than, just sitting without, because I wanted to pursue flying. And after COVID, this made much more sense to just pursue, just like that.
I just want to understand your perspective on when I visited your house. In your toilet, you had a SOP.
Say again?
In your toilet, you had an SOP.
Yeah.
So, what's the belief system about checklists? If you can explain.
People don't know what to do unless you tell them what to do.
Okay.
Right? So you're a marketer. Like the way you craft CTAs, right? You tell people, take this action.
Correct.
Click on this link. Go to my bio. You tell people. There's a reason why you tell, right? What is the reason why you tell people?
To get conversions and also to give direction to the people who are seeing and receiving that ad.
So have you run ads without direction, without a proper CTA?
Without direction, if you are running ads, you are a mad guy. Yeah.
You're wasting money.
You're wasting money. Burning.
So unless you tell people what to do, they won't really do it.
Correct.
So I like my house in a certain order. So you saw the house. It's not easy to maintain it. So I like things in a certain way, and I love entertaining people. I love calling people home, and I have so many people at home all the time, right?
Understood.
So I saw that I was the only person cleaning the bathrooms all the time. I have a nice, I have a rule. Basically, it shouldn't be wet. It should be dry all the time. The seat should be kept in a certain way. And if it is, if you've done a horrible job and if it is smelling, there's enough of room freshness and fragrance. There's a candle that you can light, and there's a book also that you can read. There's too many things you can do.
Yeah,
right?
You read it fully.
Yeah, so it's the SOPs, basics, what is expected of you to do. And what's surprising is after I put that SOP, it's not only the toilet, the kitchen also has one SOP. You didn't come to the kitchen that day.
Yes.
Kitchen also has one SOP. So after these SOPs, I noticed that people are actually following it. I told people what to do. And first reaction is amusement. They were like, wow, what is this? I have an SOP to use the restroom. And the second instinct is people actually start following. So, and
can SOP stay in someone's life? Do you think so?
Yeah,
okay.
It's choice,
Okay. So for a person who's very chaotic and they think they're very creative as well, right? So they can't really follow SOPs. There are certain people like that.
Give me an example, like why?
There are some certain people.
Let me show you why I'm the process doctor.
Wait a minute. There are certain people who just sleep in the mornings. They work all night. Okay.
Hamid.
Okay. Amit is different. I have a few characters.
Okay. Let's not need.
Who don't want these kind of SOPs. They never come on time. Whatever you say, they won't come on time.
That is a discipline problem.
Discipline. I will tell other more things like they can't follow process. If there is a process they can't follow.
Tell me more. Like who are these people? Are they fireable?
They are not employees.
They're not employees. Okay.
They are also entrepreneurs. They make money.
They're entrepreneurs. They make
money.
See, that's what they've reached a certain point in life where they can say. It's called, okay, I want you guys to beep this out. It's called fuck you money.
Okay.
Right? So they've reached that point. So, like, can you go to...
See, I don't think they have reached that point. They are also our level only. But they take that liberty to do it. Since their work is so much impactful, they don't make much money.
Okay.
They don't make much money.
Okay, but work is impactful.
So, people are bind to follow with them and get things
Bound to
done.
tolerate them.
Bound
Whatever
to tolerate
like that.
them.
So their work is great,
Yeah.
but they haven't reached that height yet.
But they don't have SOPs. They can't follow SOPs. That's the
Can't
problem.
follow us. What type of SOP we are trying to? SOP is not the solution. What type
Okay.
of discipline are we trying to instill?
Discipline in the sense the lifestyle discipline.
Give me an example. Like,
Lifestyle discipline is completely subjective. So we can't do anything about it.
Correct.
Like in the business, going on time, delivering on time, and those are some disciplines are there, right? Like properly communicate. If you call,
Okay.
respond to it, or just text back that
Okay.
I'll call you in another 1 hour at least.
Okay.
But they don't do shit.
No. This I'll tell you. Okay. Ready?
Yeah, ready.
You brace for impact.
Yeah, I'm
This is a problem with you.
not my problem.
I'll tell you why. Okay. So I'll tell you why. Okay. So don't get offended.
Okay.
Right? Because many people, when they come to me also, I listen to their problems and then I'll just draw lines like where all, and then it'll all lead to them only. Problem is them only. And it's not a bad thing.
Okay.
It's the thing is you're a nice person. That is a problem.
Okay.
Have you put your foot down and said, this is the structure of working with me. I like your work. That is why I'm talking to you. But if you want to continue this is what I would like to do. Because talent is not really, is this person creating something like Mona Lisa? Like some state of the art
He
work?
is someone artistic, but
He's artistic.
doesn't
Is he
create-
replaceable?
He thinks he's replaceable.
He thinks he's
Irreplaceable.
irreplaceable. Okay. Then that's his thing. No, there's a consequence of having this attitude. Because this attitude you can't really fix. So there are some people who have this as a, intrinsic, it's their birthright there. As
Yeah.
you can't really, do anything about it. I also have certain things that people, if they tell me, I also won't listen. Because by God's grace, I've come to a certain point where I don't have to listen. So why do you think I have an SOP in my bathroom? Right. So so that's what. So to solve this problem, there's not really a solution. To solve this problem, first, what I'll tell you is objectively what you have to do. First thing is you need to make it official. You have to put social sculpt, Arun, SOP number 1. This is what the work outline should be like. When I call you, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. So in the not acceptable criteria, you can put that when I give you a call, it is expected of you to give me a call back. If you do not call me back, I'm going to assume that you are in an emergency. And if you're always in an emergency, then that's, what to say. That's not acceptable to me. And what is acceptable, you tell them, this is because it is most probably is this person young?
Yeah, kind of.
Like, give me like a age group, 21 to 25?
4 to 20.
24 to 27?
28.
Okay, so they come under the 24 to 30 group. Chances are they're also figuring out.
Okay.
Alright, so you are a senior person in experience, revenue, and you've seen a few more things, interacted with a few more people. So you just tell them, Thambi, or Tangachi, whoever, sit down, see, this is what you're doing. This is the impact that it is having. Your work is great, but your attitude is horrible. And because of that, your discipline is getting hit. You're always showing up late. You're not putting, it's offending the other person. Right? And I know that you have a problem with people coming late. Right? So you can tell them that, boss, this is what you are doing to your own career. I am now not talking as a CEO. I'm talking as a friend. You have to fix it. If you fix this, your impact becomes much more, because people don't really work for your work output. People work with who they like.
Understood.
If your work is great but nobody likes you, nobody will work with you.
Yes.
Do you agree? Don't you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So this is something that you can objectively
That's
do.
so great deals are closed.
Exactly, right? So put an SOP, not an SOP, like what is acceptable, rule book of the sorts. Like I would like these terms. You also, social sculpt is also not starting, it didn't start yesterday.
Yeah, correct.
It is you have a process. This is the vendor discipline that I would like. Don't call it discipline, call it basic expectations. Communication protocol. You ask them, what is your official communication protocol? If they say email, they say, okay, if I send an email, I expect a reply back in 1 hour. If you don't do it, then this is in violation of my policy. So I will, I have the right to withhold. It should pinch them slightly. So an SOP without enforcement.
Understood.
Like I can have 1,000 SOPs, but if my SOPs don't really affect anybody's life, right, nobody will. So all of my SOPs, there are implications. So today when I had to come here, there was an SOP issue that happened. There is an implication. So somebody will bear the brunt of it. It's not a very big deal. They'll just get 1 point out of it. But again, so if they mess up, if that SOP is not being followed, it needs to have an impact, even for you personally, right? So an SOP without any implications, like whether people follow it or not follow it, if they don't have any effect on it, then it will not really work out.
So what are the type of systems that an entrepreneur should actually set in place to run a proper company?
Everybody should know, okay, I don't have a structured answer to this, but I'll just brain dump whatever was coming to me. You as an entrepreneur, you as a CEO, your job is to go and explore and build the business big. So once you've identified where you can make money, what is the repeatable processes, repeatable stuff where you can constantly keep making money, once you've identified that, your job is to teach that to another person. Hire another person, teach it to them and say, boss, every day you have to do this. Let's say designing, right? You have, like, your company would have started when you were a good designer, right?
Yes.
You're a good designer, you went and spoke to a client and you closed the client, and now you have to scale. As an entrepreneur, your duty is to scale. So you teach an employee what the process is, how to create a design, how to submit it, how to prepare it. From concept to reaching the platform, what all goes through. Your job is to define that very clearly.
Understood.
So nobody should ask you, what should I do next? Nobody should call you and ask, what should I do next? What next? Nobody should ask you that. So that question of what next should have an intrinsic answer for each department.
Okay.
How many departments does your company have?
So mine has 5.
So all 5 departments, they all work together?
Yeah.
Okay. So the same output, same one single output or same one single task, 5 departments oversee. So they should know when the handoffs happen.
Correct.
They should know who's responsible for approving this decision. And your job as an entrepreneur is to ensure that nothing comes to you unless it is an emergency, so that you can honor that call. If a call is coming from a team member, it is an emergency. They will not call you unless it is an emergency. This is number 1. Number 2 is other processes of abnormal procedures. So you can, so in aviation we have normal procedures and abnormal procedures, right? Normal procedures is very easy. Flying an aeroplane is not that hard. But the abnormal procedures is what takes a lot of time for us to learn, right? So in your company, you need to have abnormal procedures. So what happens if you create something and the client doesn't like it? What to do at that time, right? That should have a process. Okay, now it should branch and it should have a process. At that time, it should escalate. It should go to a senior designer. So that is one abnormal process. Second abnormal process, today, you said 5 teams, right? An important team member from another team has not come. So what should happen? So first of all, can they take a leave like that? Who approved their leave, right? So that should have a process. So you should list down all the things that could go wrong in your business, and you should try answering those things. Okay, if this goes wrong, how do I fix this?
Okay.
Alright. So in today's day and age, it's very easy. You go describe your business really well, what you do in ChatGPT, and ask it, what all can go wrong? Give me an ordered list. It'll give you a list, 1 to 100, it'll give you all these things can go wrong. And that first you filter what all is actually not applicable to you. Half of the things will not be applicable to you. Remove all the things that are not applicable to you. The things that are applicable to you, take that to another document and start answering. Okay, now how will I handle this situation? You have to think about the worst thing that could happen and then handle it. I'll back this up with another example from aviation. You've been in an aircraft before, right?
Yes.
Right. So do you remember the takeoff?
Yeah.
How does the takeoff feel?
Takeoff feels...
You sit on the aircraft, you're waiting, the engine is pulling up.
kind of.
And then you hit one, you get that one feel, and then it's very noisy, everything is vibrating, and suddenly everything is calm, right?
Correct.
So before takeoff, we do something called as a takeoff briefing checklist, right? In that checklist, the captain or the pilot flying has to brief the pilot monitoring what they're going to do when the engine fails. Pilots actually prepare for engine failure on takeoff roll. Will you believe it if I say that if your aircraft is rolling on the runway for takeoff, it's going in at the full speed, and if one engine catches fire, they will not abort the takeoff beyond a certain point. They will continue takeoff. Even at one engine fails. Even if one engine fails.
Okay.
So why I'm telling this is, in the language that they use, they'll brief this in English only. In that English, if you look at the tense, or if you look at the statement, it is not a conditional statement. They will not say, if the engine fails, we will do this. They will say it in present continuous tense. When the engine fails, I will apply maximum brakes. I will extinguish the fire. You will call the ATC. First, we will bring the aircraft to a complete stop, and then you will call the tower and let them know that we suffered this engine. We suffered this damage. And if the engine failure is happening beyond a certain point, we will continue takeoff. We will bring the aircraft into the air, then we'll extinguish the fire, then we'll climb to the minimum safe altitude, and then we'll do a circuit. We'll communicate to the ATC so that they also know what is happening, because there might be other departures waiting for takeoff. They'll communicate, they'll bring up. So now this is in aviation, when the cost of the aircraft is some 800 crores and you have 150 to 200 lives on board. That's why you wear the stripes, right? So now in your business, also as I said, you are responsible for 10 families. How many employees you have, you're responsible for those many families, right? So in your business also, you have to sit down and think with this level of complexity. What all can go wrong? And you have to simulate. And once you simulate, you'll have a list. All of these things can go wrong. Then you come up with a solution. All of these things can go wrong. And, this is how I should solve it as a company. This is a standard procedure to solve it. And then a company should know, like everybody in the company should know what is the procedure. Like, when something goes wrong, what should I go? At least where should I go and look at? They will not have that procedure memorized, but they'll at least know where to go look at.
Nice.
Right? Did that answer your question? Like process that a founder should have in the company?
Fine. Discipline versus creativity. Like, are they really enemies or partners?
Discipline and creativity.
Discipline versus creativity.
They are partners, I would say. I would argue that they are partners, because without discipline, you cannot have creativity, right? I'll give you an example. So, very interesting question. How does this question come though?
Just wanted to ask.
Okay, so let's say you're designing something. Let's talk about designing. And let's say you're designing something, and you allocated 3 hours for it, but it is well beyond 3 hours, and you don't have that desired output. So this is where this theorem comes into play, right? Should you listen to your creativity or should you listen to your discipline?
Discipline.
Okay, and what will you do?
Deliver it to the client.
Okay, but as the artist inside you, the creative person inside you,
you will procrastinate. You will take it long and.
I want
to know your point of view.
My point of view is the same thing, right? So
see, you are a SOP guy, so I just want you to answer this.
Okay, so this is for the audience. Sorry.
Yes.
This is a very twisty question. But again, to the audience, people might think that they should listen to the creative side. No. Because when you're being creative, what you're doing is you're doing trial and error. You're doing something and you're seeing whether is it working or not.
Correct.
But that you can't do when a client is paying you to do their work, no? So you can't experiment on the client's budget. You should have an R&D budget. You should have an R&D budget in terms of time and money. And in that you should experiment. You should not experiment in client's time. Right?
Yeah, of course.
So if the allotted time is only 3 hours, by the end of the 2 hour and the 30th minute, you should be wrapping up. Okay, this is what I'm going to give the client, and you should start wrapping up, right? So yeah, discipline should come first. Without discipline, creativity can be very expensive in terms of time and in terms of money.
So what does military understand about leadership that startups don't?
Military, that is the defense forces, Air Force, Army, Navy.
Military, or it can be sailing, or it can be being a pilot. I just want to understand, like, what kind of leadership effect that a startup founder can understand from this.
See, very diverse question. Okay, so let me clarify the question only. Let me clarify the question only properly, because the defense and then flying, sailing is different. In the defense, they do flying and sailing. Air Force does flying, and then the Navy does sailing.
Okay.
Right? So now in this organization, that is a defense organization, leadership means taking up responsibility. Right? You have to know everything that there is to know about your men and women who you're leading. Right? In the defense forces, what I've observed is the commanding officer will know everything that there is to know about the troops. The commanding officer will know when is the wedding anniversary of the soldier he leads.
Okay.
Right? And he, like, have you seen this movie called about Sam Manekshaw?
No.
Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw, Vicky Kaushal.
No.
He acted in that movie. In that, there's a scene where Manekshaw comes and a retired Jawan opens the door, and this Jawan is asking, "Sir, do you remember me?" And Field Marshal says his regimental number without any stuttering.
Okay.
Right? So leadership is taking responsibility, not only for, so people assume that responsibility is taking responsibility of their life. Responsibility means you have to know, you have to spend time to learn and know about your men so that you know how you can lead them better. Right? So in the defense forces, they assume responsibility. I've spent a little time working with them. I spent a little time observing them up close. and I've seen family as well. So they spend a lot of time, and their house's problems, they take it up on them also.
Okay.
You know, because if you're having a problem and you're my man, you know, that line is always there. The line of duty is always there. But beyond that duty, there are certain things that they take very personally, and they help them, you know, solve it and come out of it. Right. So I'm not sure if I'm doing justice to the answer, but yeah, this is what the defense forces. This is what the leadership over there means. In corporate, many people, many CEOs or many founders, young founders, they think that the title means that they can be rude to their people. They cannot care. They cannot give a damn. Oh, today's your birthday. Okay.
That's why I wanted to ask that question. Like, how much it is important
it is
to learn a specific discipline from a startup.
Absolutely. Like for a startup founder who's assuming that the title means you can be arrogant and you can be you can have certain attitude, that's absolutely wrong. You cannot do that. There are 12 types of leadership. Since I studied about leadership, there are 12 types of leadership. The leadership style that I follow personally is servant leadership style, right? And that is one of the most successful leadership styles as well. Like, you know, Ratan Tata has exhibited certain types of servant leadership. Other types also is exhibited.
Okay.
Right? If you do this, like, you know, if you want to command only, then you become an autocratic leader.
Understood.
And do you know who was a very well-known autocratic leader in history?
Hitler?
He was an autocratic leader. You know, so he didn't consult anybody.
What do you think Modi is?
I think he's a diplomatic leader, and he's a democratic leader.
Okay.
So, see, as a prime minister, like, you don't have a lot of things in your hand, right? There you can administrate publicly, you can speak publicly, or you can feed narratives. But what you can do in office, there are certain limits to what you can do. The real administrators are the people under him, the ministries, and the actual administrators are the IAS officers and the IPS officers. They are the people who have the real exercisable power.
Understood.
Right? So he has power, obviously, but you have to push paper. Like, you know, so it's a very long cycle.
Understood.
Right? So that's what I think about Modi's leadership.
Why do you think most people stay in the idea stage forever? Like, there are a lot of people, like, they say I have an idea, they'll still be in idea. That's one question. So follow-up question would be like, what exactly separates a builder from a talker? So you have been a guy who's quickly executes certain things since you know vibe coding or some. You have the capability to go from idea to execution in a short span. Even though it's not a perfect product, you know shipping it will give you more feedback and improve it, right? So as a person who is also like filling the gap between idea and execution, what do you think the three things that the people are struggling for three things that people should avoid or know so that they don't stay in ideas forever?
Okay. What are the three things that people should know that they don't, so that they don't stay in the ideas forever? I can give you an answer. Three things but I can give you an answer. But so I'll give the theoretical answer. Theoretical answer is
things or five things that they can just have a.
I'll tell you what all I have done. What all I recommend to people.
Okay.
First thing is the fear of qualification. Am I qualified to do it? Do I have the talent to do this? All of that is, all of that is not required. All of that, it doesn't matter. Do you want it? So you created a product. You didn't ask whether you were an engineer or, you knew how to work with an AI product, right? Irrespective, do you want it? Do you want to do it? That's the first question. So don't ask whether you're qualified to do it. For example, I'm doing a space project right now, right? And like, I'm not qualified in any way, shape or form to do a space project. I'm not an aerospace engineer, but that's what I want to do it. So I'm doing it in the best way I can. I've hired some aerospace engineers and I'm working with them. So that's what. So first thing that separates the doers from just talkers is talkers, they keep evaluate and they stay at that stage alone. But the doers, they have some basic criteria that they evaluate. If they think that this can be something, they immediately start doing. They don't ask am I qualified? And because if you ask a talker, they will give you some 10 reasons. Very quickly, they'll be these are the reasons why I am not able to execute. I don't have funding. I don't have 1 crore in the bank account to, run and give salaries. So that is why I am not running my idea, right? So that qualification and all of these ideas, all of these excuses are all self-made.
Understood.
It's not, they don't really exist in the real world. You don't need to have 100 employees on day one, no. You don't need to raise funds on day one, no. You have an idea, you have to execute it. And people think about scaling, all the complex problems of 6 months later, or even problems, they'll try answering today itself. It's not that complex. Let's only think about today and tomorrow. Let's have very short-term vision when building a product. This is one. Renda's on it. There is this theory about potters. So there was a class where the professor split the class into two, Group A and Group B. So to Group A, he gave an assignment where their only job is to make the most perfect pot possible. Their assignment, they will be judged based on how perfect that pot looks. Okay, this is Group A. Group B, they told they will be judged and given marks based on how many pots they create. Okay, so one is based on the quality, the other one is based on the quantity.
Okay.
So this experiment, it was an actual experiment that was conducted. It came out and the results were very clear. What do you think was who made the perfect pot? Group A or Group B?
Group B.
Why?
I think
because they spent more time iterating. They spent more time in doing more pots, while Group A was only making one pot. These guys knew how to place the clay, base it, what all mistakes
rapid
will happen.
Experimentation leads to perfection.
Exactly. Like when you're rapidly doing iterations, it will one day, like you won't have to iterate that much. I know what pitfalls to avoid when I'm vibe coding right now. But the first product I built was not like that.
Understood.
So if you're always having that fear when you're experimenting, when it is on critical times, it's very, that's when most people fail. I don't experiment in critical time. I experiment all the other times.
Understood.
Right? In critical times, I don't experiment. So this is the second answer. Like, you have to, the quantity needs to be higher. You need to execute more ideas. You have to iterate more ideas, right? And if it works, it works. There's this other saying, right? Shake the tree and see what falls.
Understood.
Right? So your job is to just shake the tree, not to calculate if I shake it at this velocity, what will fall down. No, nothing like that. Shake the tree, see what falls. So if you have an idea, just build it. Right now it is even more easier. Earlier, at least you have to learn coding, have a team.
So the follow-up question is like, what do you exactly suggest to a 18-year or 19-year-old who wants to start something on their own if they have an idea? So what do you suggest them?
Same thing. You just go start doing. So, okay, I will say this another idea. Pretend. Okay. My company started as a WhatsApp group. All right. So pretend, give yourself a title. There are some things, right? The first time what was the first time you called yourself CEO? Somebody else called you sir.
Yeah.
All these things are there. It doesn't last long. But once this thing is over, start pretending. Pretend that you are a CEO of a very big company and ask yourself, what will that CEO be doing? Will that CEO do what I am doing right now? Right. So this is based on the day-to-day, the discipline part of it, how exactly to live life as an entrepreneur. Now for the idea, I would say same iterate. Many people have told before me also. I'm pretty sure in your podcast also they would have told. So you have to iterate. You have to stop thinking and start doing. And today's day and age it has never been more perfect time to start. Today you have all the tools. When you just have an idea, you can validate the tools also. You don't have to invest 10 lakhs and build a product and then put it in front of customers. You can build a product in an hour or two, refine it, show it to people with just one link, right? So just start doing. Just pretend that you're a CEO. Understood. Don't ask for permission from anybody. Can I be a CEO? Can I do this? No. When you're 18, 19, there is no risk. Like, if you were an 18-year-old, I would ask you at what time, when do you have to pay your wife's medical bills? Correct. Or when do you have to pay your children's school fees?
No.
So I would ask you questions like this because these liabilities are not there. You don't have anything tying you back. So when your liabilities are low, when there's no load on top of you, that is when you should start.
Okay.
Right? So that's the advice I would give them.
Thus, founders who start early confuse their identity with their company.
Can you give me an example? I didn't understand the question very well.
For example, they associate their own self's identity with the company's identity.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, it used to happen with me also. Like, what you're asking is if the company is not, if there's no company, will the person still act and behave the same way?
So they have that ego problem that they have.
It used to be a very big problem with me because the only identity that I had was the company and the things that I used to do. Like if I removed pilot, who am I? If I removed entrepreneur, who am I? This is the first question you asked me, right, in the
Yes.
podcast. So without these things also, I'm a good son.
Okay.
I'm a good brother. I'm a good friend.
Hmm.
I help a lot of people. I'm a great cook.
Does this things that you are saying, right?
Yeah.
This also answers the question that I also wanted to ask, which is like, how do you stay grounded while you are also building something ambitious?
So
I think you said you have 5 things of separating yourself into 5 different person, right?
yeah.
Is that making you grounded, or do you have any other?
On the split personality can answer. No, not really. But I'll tell you, I have a very so the honest answer is I have a very religious answer,
Okay.
because who I follow in my religion,
Hmm.
the ideology is that pride is not really a great thing. It's not good for your soul.
Okay.
Right? You know what is the first sin that was ever committed for mankind?
I think
As per Bible, you must have heard the stories. The first sin that was ever committed, it didn't happen in the Garden of Eden.
Okay.
It actually happened in heaven, and that sin was pride. Pride was the first sin. So as per what I believe, my core values, my philosophies, my philosophies, one of those core philosophies is to not be prideful or to not have sense of pride, right? Because pride is not the right thing. And for me, like sutti irukravangale, they try to, oh wow, Leo, you are this, you are that. It's very easy to just say yes, because I don't have to do a lot of things. I just have to say yes. Yes, I just have to say yes and claim those things, right? So pride, I look at pride as a very bad thing. So I don't associate myself with pride.
Okay.
That is one reason where I how I am able to stay a little grounded. Second thing is the question that you asked, right? Like, this is not part of your identity. Okay, remove this and who are you? In Marvel, one of these Marvel movies, Spider-Man, Tony Stark asks Spider-Man, if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't need the suit. Right? So who are you without the suit? Who are you without your title?
Correct.
Who are you as a human being? When you are without all of these things, who the heck are you? So I do a lot of these experiments. So the other day I walked from airport to my house, right? Not the current house I'm at, but to my parents' house. So it took me an hour, and I walked. And the same day, I also spoke to a lot of auto drivers. I used public transport that day, and because of the petrol issue and whatnot.
Okay.
And I spoke to a lot of auto drivers. These auto drivers had no clue who I was.
Understood.
But still, they loved speaking with me. One auto driver, he gave me a 50 rupee discount. That's a huge thing.
Yeah,
in auto drivers.
Getting discount from auto driver is match made in heaven.
Exactly. Exactly. And they haggle to, they never decrease price and all. But I told him one story.
They'll only increase the price. They won't decrease.
Yeah. So I told him one story, and I asked him his life story. Who are you? Like, you are driving an auto. Like, is this something, how long have you been doing? And I just engaged in conversation, nothing. I didn't do anything special to him. He had no idea who I was, right? But still, I was a good human being to that auto driver. I didn't show my attitude over there,
Understood.
right? And this, I'm not saying to blow my own trumpet. This, I'm telling founders like me. I used to be this person who used to have that attitude. I will not go in an auto. I will not talk to certain people, because who are they? I am a CEO, who are they? This used to be me. I'm telling you on record, I'm telling this to you, because I know and I meet so many young founders who have that God complex. You will see like W, I am G, I am a top.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people.
So that God complex is very short-lived.
Understood.
You will understand that it is very shallow.
Understood.
At the end of the day, at the middle of the night, at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whom can you call? And like, do you have friends? Okay, you're a startup founder, you have like some 5,000 connections on LinkedIn. Do you have friends? Do you have people who will come for you?
Yeah.
Right?
I've experienced it recently.
Yeah. So that is what matters. And you cannot unlock that by being an arrogant person.
Definitely you can't.
So this pride that I am so and so, that originates, so as per my, what I believe, it originates from, not from heaven, because my God, whoever I follow, the faith that I follow, he was as per the books that I read, as per the religious books that I read and my faith, he was the king of the universe, right? So he humbled himself.
Sure.
And all the greatest leaders, Dhirubhai Ambani, you take, they humble themselves. They come, the stature of Mukesh Ambani also. I have seen Mukesh Ambani. he does not carry that aura around, but he can choose to. He can ensure that everybody in the room feels that he is present. Actor Madhavan also, he comments on this. He says there are certain areas where he can ensure that his aura is felt by everybody in the room. He announces himself to everybody in the room. And there are times when he doesn't do that. Aram say like simple, like on simple Admi, he goes and he stands in a line and he does things. Like there's one more Tamil actor also.
Okay.
These actors, when they go for voting, right? So, I mean, right now, I think it will be a very controversial subject to touch upon. But you can see, like, there are some people who don't announce their arrival. Because it is the people who understand that it is very shallow, they don't do it.
Understand.
It doesn't go very far. So, if you ask me, that's very worthless thing to do. If you're currently in that stage, if you're an entrepreneur who's currently in that stage, I understand. I understand how that feels. But please know that it is very fake. The people who are talking to you because of it, they will not come with you through all seasons of life. They will leave you when the CEO title goes away. Okay, so be a good human being.
Correct. You are someone who is mostly like you started your coding career a little early, right?
Yeah.
And you're seeing now Cloud and Codex and a lot of things are being evolved. Like,
Yeah.
do you think developers can be replaced, or they can amplify them, or it can do both?
See, your question is tied to multiple levels.
Yes.
First thing, developers should be replaced. For example, earlier, do you know the invention of, so right now, there's no fan in this room.
Correct.
We have an air conditioner in this room. But there was a predecessor for the air conditioner, which was a fan. Do you know what used to be there before the fan?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you. So my grandfather told me the story. So my grandfather's father was a magistrate, and so he was an officer under the British India rule. Okay. So there used to be a person who was manually, there was a pulley system and he was manually fanning. So before the electrical fan, there used to be that manual fan. A human being's, a living, breathing human being's entire career was to just keep doing this pulley system.
Okay.
So that mechanical thing used to be there before the electric fan. And now, that invention came around and this person's job was replaced. So was that replacement good or bad?
Is it good?
Same thing with
It will also be replacements are good, right?
Yeah.
But also a lot of people are like telling that it's going to replace a lot of us. Like, so
it should replace, no? Like when the first wheel was invented. See, I am sitting in an AC room, I'm doing a podcast, and I'm very comfortable telling this answer. But that doesn't mean what I have to feel about it. Doesn't mean that it doesn't twist the truth. No, the truth is that it has to be replaced. That's how, if you take history, that's how it has happened. Like when the first wheel was, when electricity was, invented, a lot of people lost their jobs. Right?
Agreed.
So that is a natural passage of things. That's how it will happen.
Okay.
Right. So people will lose their jobs. Sadly, my job is already replaced.
Understood. Yeah.
Right. In my company, my job is already replaced.
Yes.
I am embracing. So I am doing many more things. So I am not doing software consultancy anymore because, I know that it's done. I don't have to do that to make money. I've done some smart moves to ensure that I don't get financially hit by it. But now I'm doing on things that I really want to do.
Understood. So you are someone who's passionate about vibe coding. Like, what do you think vibe coding would look like in the next 5 years?
No, 5. I don't know what it will look like in the next 5 days.
6 months?
I don't know what it will look like in the next 5 days.
You saw, you have been in this space for at least a year. I agree. You have seen for the past 6 months what happened, and you know what other updates are coming. Like, do you think even a person who doesn't know a single line of code or doesn't know anything about tech can do some product? How does it?
See, my prediction is that the quality of code that is being written by Vibe Code is going to go down.
Okay.
Right now it's very high.
Okay.
But it is going to go down. And I am starting to see signs of it because earlier what I used to accomplish in 1 or 2 prompts, it's now taking like 2 or 3 prompts.
Okay.
Right? And it is happening because AI is getting trained on the code that it is writing by itself.
Okay.
Earlier it was being trained on the code written by humans
itself and become bad.
And so have you seen that meme? On graph it goes up and then it falls down. So it's a graph. So right now the quality is, to me, if you ask me personally, it is starting to come down. There are some coding standards as well. We can check and evaluate them. So I think the quality of coding is going to come down. The output is going to come down. The vibe coding companies, I don't know how they are managing it.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure if I am telling this, I am not a person who's AI researcher. I'm not building AI models.
Okay.
These people would have already found out. They would have had some, methods to, to fix it or to stop it. But now what I feel is these companies, or rather these vibe coding tools, people who only have the ideas, they will also be able to build. That is as of today.
It's happening now, but
It's as of today,
also
yeah.
happen.
Yeah. So what will happen is, right now the gap is the business knowledge is the gap.
Okay.
Right. That is the gap. Right now, if you're smart enough, you can go research, ask ChatGPT, take that and put it in Claude, and you can build based on top of that.
Perfect.
But that intrinsic or the subject knowledge is the actual gap. People who don't have subject knowledge will not be able to build.
Understood. That's
So
correct. So as a polymath, what do you think there's one skill that is way more like important than acquiring more AI skills in the era of AI?
it's something that happened when we were in the DNA build villa, right? We were all having a drink, and Akash from Automex, he brought us one of the robo cars, right? And he was controlling it with this thing. So I noticed this, and so I was more curious about how is it working, because I built RC aeroplanes. I'm into aero modeling, and I know how many components are required. You need a transmitter and a receiver. You need a receiver. You need an ESC. You need a battery component. You need these many things. And I saw Automex's robot. It was so simple. It was just two plates connected together. It has 4 wheels and it was working. And he was connecting it via Wi-Fi from his phone. So I was curious and I was asking him questions, and we were all having a drink. So this was in DNA build. Okay, the pinnacle. All right, everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody's built something. Right. So they were also, all the people. I think you were also part of the crowd. Right. Everybody was like, "What the heck?" Leo and Akash are nerding out while we are all having a drink. Right. So. To be honest, at that moment, I didn't care about what the other people were doing. All I cared was the pursuit of my knowledge, right? This is a moment where you were there with me.
Correct.
Right? So the only thing that I cared about was the, my curiosity, right? So as a polymath, I think that is the most important skill, not caring about what the other people around you might think. If you don't understand something, or if you're curious about something and you want to learn more, you have to ask. You don't have to give a damn about what will the other person think. Right now, I'm curious about so many things, about the light,
Understood.
the camera. It was giving sounds when we were recording. So I'm curious about why is it doing? Why are people coming and checking all the time? So I'm curious about those things. After this podcast, I want to ask. Right? So I don't care whether they'll judge me or not, because their judgment is not going to change anything for me.
Understood.
Thankfully, I've achieved that in life by God's grace, where it doesn't affect me. Right? So as a polymath, you have to reach that place faster where it doesn't affect you physically.
Okay, so
I think that's the.
So as an entrepreneur, like in my childhood, we'll be in NCC, Scout, and all other things.
Yeah.
That also would have triggered some point of time where you can go to sailing or a pilot or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I was also in Scout.
Oh, nice. I was also in Scouts and Guides.
Till my 9th standard, and then I went to RSP.
Road safety
patrol. Okay, so I have a certification.
Oh, good school. Which school did you go to?
I go to Lilo College. So Lilo's matriculation school. Okay,
that's right.
Okay, so that's one thing. So why I'm asking this is it teaches you a sense of responsibility and discipline at point of time. What you learned in NCC, which actually helped you in the startup journey.
It helped me in the human journey a lot. In NCC, you get punished. So in NCC, punishments are a big thing. That's how they teach you. Okay. I still remember the first day in NCC. My senior, the previous lecture was about how you should be united together. NCC's thing is unity and discipline, right? How you should be united with each other. That was the lecture. Like from 10-minute lecture, one senior came and he said. Then another senior came and he said, "Now I will count to 5. Everybody has to run towards that tree. The first 5 people who touch the tree, only they will get lunch."
Okay.
And first year students didn't know the context. Okay. We all ran. I mean, some people ran first, and the senior was waiting there. And the next question, he was like, "Ah, wow, okay, you guys came first." Next question was like, "Oh, so he told this in Tamil. So Soren Sonna, you will abandon your batchmates and come." And then I saw the jaws drop for all these people. So that is the first day I learned that no matter what, you are not to abandon your batchmate. Even in the face of death, you cannot abandon your batchmate. Okay. So that was ingrained in us on day 1 only. And second thing, in NCC, if one person messes up, the entire unit or the entire whoever is in the ground wearing the uniform of your same cadre, so if you're a junior and your senior is commanding and somebody makes a mistake, everybody pays the price.
Understood.
There is no you made the mistake, you pay the price. So that teaches you that, in a company, you can't say that, oh, my designer messed up, or my developer messed up, or,
So
my
founder
junior messed up.
responsibility.
Not founder, like
Entire
this
company.
mentality needs to be there in everybody's mind, that if this person is messing up, it affects my work, right? It affects our company's work,
Correct.
right? And that mentality should be ingrained. And for us in NCC, we learned it when we came to that senior level, right? So this is not something that you learn by theory. This you experience and you learn. And the consequences are very heavy. So I learned how to be a good human being, and because of that, I learned how to be a good leader in NCC.
So what movies or books or series, what do you want to suggest to budding entrepreneurs who want to build something?
There are a lot of books on it. Every book says almost the same thing.
Okay, but what is the favorite of Leo that actually helped him in a very tough situation that can also help someone who's also on the
See,
18?
when it is tough situations, I go to a different book. I go to the Holy Bible.
Okay,
But in normal, so that book also is important. I learned a lot about leadership in my MBA in London, so in Liverpool. I did a case study about leadership, and I look at the Bible as a more of a history artifact. And I told about this to Agnel also very recently over breakfast. I was telling him, and we are looking at Bible as a leadership tool. What is it telling? Because it's all human stories only, right? But irrespective, not from the religious aspect, from the human aspect, or like what other books other than Bible. There's this book called as 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. So there are 48 laws, and it is important to know where to apply those laws. It is very hard for everybody to memorize all the 48 laws. But what somebody can do is read the book fully once. And then when you are having a situation, you can go to ChatGPT and say, what does Robert Greene's 48 laws of power say about this? How can I apply that over here? And it will tell you strength and negotiation and things like that. Podcast, I would say, Sculptors Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And movies, I would say, movies and series, I would say, because series is an investment. Movie is a 3-hour commitment. Series is an investment.
I don't agree with this.
Yeah?
I don't agree.
Movies is...
See, you know, if you are a series person, you agree with it.
Yeah.
I'm a movie person.
Yeah.
See, series takes a lot of your time.
Correct.
Movie...
It should take a lot of your time.
Yeah, no. We can't waste a lot of time on a
commitment.
series. It's a commitment, but as an entrepreneurs,
like when
you also have a very little time, right? Movies, let's just distill it and give it to you.
So, like when I'm giving advice, I always see where all can I apply this. So this advice I can stand behind it and say, even in relationships, I can apply this. It's a time investment.
Okay.
It's not a short-term thing. I'm really looking for.
In relationships, we can do. In movies, we can't.
But yeah, so movies. So that's what I don't know what movies to suggest about entrepreneurship or to increase or to make your life better. But series I can suggest. I would say take a look at Suits.
Okay.
Suits is pretty great.
Nice.
I learned a lot of things. About leadership, about human behavior from that. Not about law, about human behavior, and yeah. So that's what I would suggest. But again, if somebody is looking for recommendations from a business podcast, then I would say go have
people look up to.
Yeah. But again, I would say you can't learn from these things. You will see whatever you see. You will refine a taste profile.
Understood.
And don't listen to, because these are my recommendations. This is personal to me.
Since people have listened to your whole journey, they want to know a part of you. The part of you is part of which you like.
I'm telling you, don't do that.
Then nobody will listen to podcast, man. Yeah.
No, podcast is great. Listen to the podcast.
So people listen to a certain podcast, they admire and inspire certain people. When they admire and like certain people, they also like a essence of them, which is the taste.
Correct. So my thing is that I told you about that pride thing, right? So I consider myself as a normal human being. Like all of us are equal.
You can consider yourself as a normal human being.
But again, so okay, so my suggestion I've told you, but what I would say is everybody has their intrinsic.
Correct.
Everybody has their own taste. You don't have to do these things.
Correct. Everybody has their unique taste.
Yeah. Right. So
see, people want to know your taste. That's it.
I'm glad that they want to know my taste. My taste, I've told. Movies, I don't really enjoy watching a lot of movies. Neither can I recommend. I would recommend this one movie called Center for Women. Okay. Something that I watched very recently. It was very nice.
Nice.
Then series, I said Suits. Suits is great. Then Friends, Big Bang Theory. Big Bang Theory has a lot to learn, a lot to teach about life and about science as a whole and experiments and research as a whole. So I would recommend that. And then podcasts, I would say take a look at this podcast called as Diary of a CEO.
Perfect.
Which is pretty great. If you're an entrepreneur, as I said, like in one of the conversations I said, right, learn how to copy. learn how to pretend, right? So you learn from other CEOs how they are doing, and based on that you pretend, and that's how you make it easier for yourself.
Perfect.
So with that, I will end my
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you so much for having me, Arun. This was fun.